Yo, what's good? It's your man, 100 Grand Ross with The Rock Never Stops. I just finished watching this interview. I'm almost through watching it with Isaiah Thomas, Reggie Miller, and Larry Legend, Larry Bird. I want to dive into this video. It was pretty dope to watch. And I know some of y'all may not agree with everything that I say, but I think it has substance, and I think it's very apropos to this current Detroit Pistons roster. Let me just be frank and say it how I want to say it. Some of y'all are not allowing this young team to go through the growing pains that are necessary to become winners. Some of y'all are rushing this team. Some of y'all are getting excited and getting putting the cart in front of the horse. You know all the sayings, right? You're forgetting that there is a process to coming together, merging talent, figuring out who's going to fit with who, trying to get healthy, figure out your body, figure out your game, and learning to win. You see, one of the things that Isaiah Thomas talks about in this interview was some of the outlooks that he had as a young player coming into the game. When he was playing at Indiana, how he was watching Larry Bird and Magic Johnson, and he was watching these guys play at such a high level, and they're winning championships. And he's saying to himself, man, they're playing mentally at such a high level. If I'm ever going to get there, I've got to learn to play at that level mentally. That took seasons. And I mean seasons. They had to fail a lot. They had to lose a lot, right? Now, these are some of the things that sometimes we don't want to see our team go through. But something that I constantly say, if you follow my channel with the Detroit Pistons, is that what you're seeing is the progression of growth. You all may not think that things are getting better because you're looking at wins and losses. But if you can actually take your eyes away from the end of the game and think more towards the next 6-7 seasons and what this team can become, you begin to realize that the subtle improvements that may not equate to won games are still gains for this team, are still things that are helping them to grow and become who they need to become in order to win. Now, when we look at this team, yes, I've been hard on Jaden Ivey. Yes, because he wants to play point guard, or they're playing him at a lead guard position. And at that position, you have to think the game at an extremely high level. I'm not saying that he's not. I'm saying that the level he has to get to is something that's going to take growing pains. And you can't rush the process of those growing pains. You have to allow guys to get benched. You have to allow guys to get sat. You have to allow guys to understand the value of the ball, the possession, the moment at such a level that it becomes internalized inside of them. And it becomes normalized to not take risks with the ball, to not take risks with plays, to not put your personal desire to perform and score over the desire to see the team be successful. And I'm not saying that he is. What I'm saying is that there are times where you can see that he is taking chances and he is attempting to create plays that are thought out in a limited capacity in terms of, is this the best move for the team, or is this just what I see in the moment? And what that takes is time in order to fail and learn and look at film and learn and listen to some veterans and learn some more. You see, I don't think that he's not talented. I don't think that this team is not getting better. What I see is that they're going through growing pains. And that's the discussion many times on my channel, is the growing pains that we see them going through. Something else that came up in that interview between Isaiah Thomas and Larry Bird with Reggie Miller mediating it was Larry Bird talking about how everyone had to sacrifice. And I think that's something that I'm noticing is that Cade Cunningham and Jaden Ivey are figuring out how to sacrifice for the team and for one another. I think recently Cade is turning it back on, and I think he was being too passive and sacrificing too much. And then at the same time, I think Jaden Ivey has been going a little bit hard because he felt like he had to. And also that was his role. But now he's having to figure out, how do I sacrifice for the rest of the team? How do I make sure that everyone else gets involved? You see, guys like Asar Thompson, if you let him get a few dunks, his defense goes to another level. And it's already at a high level. But what he's capable of doing only enhances. Jalen Duren is the same. Simone Fontecchio, if you give him a backdoor, drop off so he can get a layup and get himself going, all of a sudden his shooting is that much better, right? How do I get everyone else going so it makes this game easy for us? And these are the growing pains. On top of that, Larry Bird talks about not just everyone sacrificing, but he was talking about how everyone knew that he and the other guys like Dennis Johnson, Kevin McHale, they knew that they were the offensive guys. And they knew who was going to get the ball in those closing moments. So everybody knew what their role was. He was saying guys would set harder screens, guys would crash the offensive glass because they knew in a close game down the stretch, I was taking the shot. And I think that that's something that Cade Cunningham has to figure out. Is he going to be that guy? And I think he is. But he's going to have to assert that. He's going to have to maintain that. He's going to have to make sure that he is consistently asking for the ball. It can't be with a minute to go, Jaden Ivey gets the ball to bring up the court. That cannot be the scenario. It's got to be me, give me the ball, I've got it, I'm going to make the play for better or for worse. And then Jaden Ivey has to know how to play off of that. He has to know I'm number two. If Cade gets doubled or gets bottled up, I'm who he's looking to take the shot or make the play. And then everyone else falls in line. Simone Fontecchio, you're spotting up, moving off the ball, trying to be on the weak side as a shooter that keeps that defender on the weak side honest and not sliding over to help, right? Asar Thompson, you're either setting a good screen and slipping it, looking for the lob, or you're cutting off the ball when one of those two are attacking the lane. Jalen Duren, you got to set one hell of a screen to free up Cade or Jaden, right? Like, these are the things that they have to learn in real time. And it's going to take time. Having a guy like Marcus Sasser, having guys like James Wiseman, each of these guys begins to understand what they're going to be in terms of what this team is developing. And that takes time. You see, I'm a big fan of Woodward Pistons podcast. I think they're, a really dope podcast. They have it on YouTube, all this stuff. Great to follow them, great conversation. But at the beginning of the season, I said, I think y'all are expecting way too much out of this roster. With all the veterans injured and a bunch of young guys playing all the dominant minutes, there's no way that they're going to be able to win a lot of games. And the guy was talking about, maybe close to 30 games, 35 games. I was like, what? I was like, this is what you expect out of a team whose best player missed all of last season, who have no veterans ready to play right now. And yet they're supposed to beat a stacked NBA that has no advantage to try to tank this season because the draft is weak. So everybody's all in for winning. And you're in one of the deepest divisions with the Indiana Pacers, the Milwaukee Bucks. Chicago is still playing for something, right? You've got teams that are playing you hard all the way, and you're expecting to win 35 games. I thought that completely misframed the expectations for this season. And so a lot of people got disappointed when they started losing a lot. Now, I did get excited, but I was getting excited for different reasons, not because I thought they were going to get to 35 wins. I thought they were finding a defensive identity. I thought that they were figuring out how to be tough, how to be physical, how to get after it. I thought Asar Thompson getting those minutes was the foundation of that, which I think I was right still. Isaiah Stewart, I was like, hey, he's got to keep shooting it, and he's got to start knocking it down if he's going to play that role. He faded out. But all that's to say is that how I've been commenting and critiquing about this team has all been about the long-term vision of the next 5 to 6 seasons. Hasn't been about getting wins and losses now because that was never the expectation. And so when you understand the growing process, you begin to learn you got to sit back and let it work itself out. This offseason, there's no great free agents. No great free agents are going to the Detroit Pistons, want to go to the Detroit Pistons, right? The best free agents probably out there is like Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. He's probably going to go to Philly, right? These are the things that are going to get worked out. But it's to say that there's nobody coming to save the Pistons in this offseason. They've got to figure out how to re-sign Simone Fontecchio because he's a 6'9" stretch forward who's athletic, who can go off the bounce. He looks kind of like a Franz Wagner, if I'm honest. Not as good defensively, But his athleticism, his agility, ability to put the ball on the floor and shoot it, he's got a lot of those tools. He is the person that they really need to be saying we need to keep him around because of what he does for the rest of this roster. His stability with shooting opens things up for this team that allows you to play Asar Thompson next to him, that allows Jalen Duren room around the rim and doesn't allow the other opposing forwards to collapse on him, right? And so this is the process. But as always, I want to know what you all think. What do you think that this team is at in terms of their process and people's expectations? Get at me in the comment section. I'm going to get at y'all next time. Peace.